Do that. I'm Steve Tabachman, and I'm the co-director of the Michigan Political Leadership Program.
Hey, Steve. I'm Ann Raven. I'm Steve's colleague.
And I have to say that while many of us probably didn't enjoy Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and maybe haven't enjoyed the world over the last, 72 hours, I do expect to enjoy the next at least couple hours as a politico, as an interested person about trying to understand the election recap. So in a second, we've had a wonderful 2 days. We actually were interviewing fellows for the class of 2017 yesterday, and last night had our final weekend with the class of 2016, which bled into our alumni conference. And we are really thankful to our partners at the Michigan Political History Society for joining us in putting together this year's election recap. We want to thank our sponsors, Kelly Cawthorn, Muchmore Harrington, Smalley and Associates. Can we get a round of applause for those sponsors? And the last person we want to thank is all of our presenters over the next couple hours. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come here. Many people driving in for this. So,
and one other person. A lot of people ask me questions during the day, and I just say, I don't know, go ask Linda. So Linda Cleary, thank you so much for making everything work for both MPLP and the Political History Society. Thank you, Linda.
So I feel like there's so many things I could do to get back at Tim Skubik, like as I have a chance to introduce him, but I'm just going to say, Tim Skubik, the show is yours.
Thank you for coming out. How many people voted? How many people were happy with the outcome? Wonderful. Would you folks mind leaving? Goodness gracious. You stand up for me. Come here. I'm Tim Skubik. I'm from the media, and I'm here to help you. So, you were happy with the outcome?
Yes, I was.
Tell me why.
I'm a Republican.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, what difference did that make on Tuesday? Since you didn't have a Republican running.
I know, I had to overlook most of his qualities. I was coming with people, and I see Lynn Wymaster, who...
Mark, you know, I like you, and before you dig the hole too deeply, just sit down, okay? I want you to get out of this room alive because, you know, you got to get to the back door, and there's a lot of people in between. Say hello to Stevie Mitchell and Bernie Porn, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to let them chat a little bit, but this really, in order for this to work and to be fun, it's got to be an audience participation. So it's a rare opportunity to talk to two guys who got everything right, or got part of it right on Tuesday, okay? And I wanted to start out with a question. Steve, let me start with you. Would it be fair to say that everybody that owned a red truck voted for Donald Trump, and everybody that owned a foreign car voted for Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
All right. Next question. Expand on that because it's a brilliant question, isn't it?
You're a brilliant man.
Thank you. And so are you. Now that we got all the BS out of the way, right? Why did she win, Bernie? Or why did she lose?
Before I do that, I have to point out that Tim Skubik correctly picked Trump to win Michigan and Trump to win the presidency. I know that because when I taped the little gig with WLNS, they said, you know, Tim has predicted that Trump is going to win. I said, well, I'll be darned. Anyways, I wanted to put congratulations. My hat, if I had one, would be off to you.
I had a 50-50 chance, sweetheart. Go ahead.
Now, why did you lose? Well, I've studied all of the crosstabs and looked at all the information and come to the conclusion that you didn't get enough votes.
And you guys paid for this.
No,
you guys paid for this.
Our last poll had 4%, and that's after previous polls had 11%, and then she dropped down to a 3% lead, which should have indicated that her vote was very fragile, and that was after 9/11, and that visual of her having a difficult time getting into the SUV, that dropped her support dramatically. Then we had it back up to 11, then down to 7, and then the Comey letter caused her support to drop to 4%. And at that point, I said, given the trend line with only, and this was November 3rd, given the trend line, if she is unable to get out African Americans and the turnout is heavier in the rural areas, he could well win. And indeed he did. However, I drank the Kool-Aid and watched all of the polls. Not only there were many in Michigan as well as nationally, showing that she had probably recovered, and so that's when I predicted, just like many others, that she was going to win by 300 plus.
Steve, right, when they write the book on this, is the Comey memo the clear turning point that points to a Trump victory, or did we know?
You know, well, I don't think we'll ever know, but I think that had a big impact because it put the big question mark over her head again. And when you take a look at where the votes came from, it's pretty fascinating, very, very quickly, because nobody likes to hear a lot of numbers. But 57 to 36, Trump wins with white voters. With white men, he wins 64 to 29, but with white women, he wins 51 to 43. So he won with white women. With college graduates, Trump won 50 to 45, according to the exit polls. That's college graduates. Postgraduates, he loses 33 to 61.
But there aren't a lot of them.
And with Republicans, according to the exit polls, Trump gets 90% of the vote, she gets 88% of the vote. With the Democrats and among independents, he wins 52 to 36. So you take a look at all those facts, and they all run counterintuitive, and they all run counter to what everyone was saying out there about where the support would come for the respective candidates.
All right, the question is, did Donald Trump win Michigan, or did Hillary Clinton lose Michigan? You know what I'm asking?
Combination of both, because as I mentioned to you before the program began, I think people responded very emotionally to Donald Trump, and it reminded me a little bit of that movie that Peter Finch played in 1976, Network, where he said, "Throw open the windows, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." Well, a lot of voters responded that way to Donald Trump, and every county in the country that had the whitest population, also those without a college education, with college education by the lowest percentages, those were the key ingredients. Those counties nationwide voted for Donald Trump overwhelmingly, much higher than they did for Mitt Romney, while at the same time the vote for Hillary Clinton was much lower than it was for Barack Obama. As a matter of fact, there were 25,000 fewer people voting by absentee in Detroit, and if she had gotten 51% of the vote as it occurred in 2012 in Detroit, she would have won Michigan. It was 48%.
Did she hand it to him, or did he win it outright, Steve?
Look, I think he won it outright. The fact of the matter is that she could not get the support, and nobody thought she would get the support out of the African American community that Barack Obama did. That's just impossible. That was the first ever. They had an opportunity to vote for an African American president twice, and he had huge turnouts. But look, city Detroit, the vote is down 50,000 votes. If it's down only 25,000 votes, she wins because she gets 90% of that, and she only lost by 13,000 votes. So that inability to get out the black vote, which is why Bill Clinton came in to talk to the black ministers on Thursday night. So I agree completely with Tony. This is a matter of that he won. He galvanized the vote in these rural counties throughout Michigan. I'm an old Uper. I look at the UP map, and there it is, one county, Marquette, going for Hillary Clinton. And, you know, Delta County, Escanaba, very Democratic county, it goes for Donald Trump. So it's a combination. And by the way, the margin in Marquette County was like about 1,000 votes.
All right, has the definition of the Republican Party base been changed by Donald Trump, and the definition of the traditional Democratic base been changed? The blue-collar guys who used to vote D's voted R's in this one. The higher educated, more wealthy folks voted for Hillary Clinton. What's going on?
To a large extent, that's true. Also, when you look at the union vote, our polling showed that she was not getting nearly the percentage of the union vote that she should have. And also millennial votes for a while, until I think Michelle got involved and Bernie Sanders got involved. She was not getting nearly the numbers she was supposed to. And indeed, Johnson was scoring fairly high numbers among millennials for a long period of time. She then ended up getting more toward the ends, but not nearly the numbers that Barack Obama did.
Does Mr. Johnson get any credit for making Donald Trump president? Steve?
Yes, I think
He's sort of, what was that?
Johnson and Stein both. Remember, Stein got 50,000 votes. So if 25,000 of those votes go to Hillary Clinton wins Michigan.
But nationwide, in all of those
Nationwide?
states that we were looking at, he got 2%, 2%, 2%. That was the margin of victory.
Right, and you look, he got those votes, but you look at where those votes, you go right across. There's Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, rural white voters, the basis for that support that he got, and Johnson taking away enough votes from both, and Stein probably more from Clinton, and therefore you get a Trump presidency. And Trump, there will be a realignment within the Republican Party as a result of this, a populist part of the Republican Party. This is as significant an election long-term, in my opinion, as was the election of Ronald Reagan 36 years ago.
All right, I want to see if this guy still knows how to ask a question. Would you say hello to Chris Christoph? Okay.
One of many celebrities like Bernie Klein.
Listen here. You guys miss Chris Christoph? Personally speaking for myself, I miss him on the show because he's the only guy that was smart on the panel, okay? Fire away there,
Thank you very much. Carry on.
yeah, that's right. And don't touch me, I'm a star. Here you go.
Channeling Trump.
Yeah, those numbers were for Michigan, Steve.
Yeah, those are the Michigan exit poll data.
Yeah. Well, here's something you probably can't get at, or we all think about it. But the big question is, after you get through all the numbers, and I've gone through these numbers over days, so it's fascinating data, realignment, all these things that weren't expected. But what a lot of people are thinking is, how could people vote for a guy who said so many things? One of those things would have killed any other candidate, including Hillary Clinton. How could you vote for that guy? How could you, this is what people are asking me, how could you vote for a guy who foments bigotry and misogyny and insults people and insults our families? How did that happen?
To a certain extent, especially during the primaries, the positions he took on a lot of issues were positions that a significant percentage of the electorate in the Republican primaries and also in the general agreed with him. So you're talking about limiting Syrians coming in. We tested that, and there was opposition to it, and overwhelmingly among Republicans. All of those issues that he pushed, they agreed with, and they also felt left out in terms of the economy. They felt that corporations were getting the best deal, and they were getting a raw deal, and the system was rigged. They were giving him a very responsive, response to his messages.
I remember when the Syrian refugee came out, and I did an interview for Channel 2 on that. And my response to that is, this is going to be very popular, that this is something that most people want. In fact, polling showed 2 out of 3 Republicans support it, and this is what he said. It's always misstated what he said. He wanted to have a moratorium until Syrian refugees could be vetted, a temporary ban on Muslim immigration until they could be vetted. 2 out of 3 Republicans like it, and if you took the name Trump off of that idea, 47% of the Democrats liked it.
Well, in fact, Governor Rick Snyder said exactly the same thing.
Yes.
Policy-wise, that's all true. But it's the man and the things that he said and the way he offended people. The character, he's the one who said, if I shot somebody on Fifth Avenue, they'd vote for me anyway. And a lot of people after the next day were thinking, he was right. Does character count anymore, is what they're asking.
Well, I would argue that you had both characters pretty flawed in this campaign. I would argue that both of these candidates are pretty flawed. I mean, for every statement that you said about him, he may have said more outrageous things, but her track record and the questions about the emails and the questions about the foundation were out there. And so I think ultimately, at the end of the day, she got less support among her party than Trump got among Republicans by a couple of percent.
All right, the former chair of the Republican Party has a question. Suze, here you go.
They're floating this number around at 90,000. 90,000 people who voted didn't vote to stop the ticket. That's my first question. Does that hold true? The second
Michael Moore said it.
Michael Moore said it, and I've heard it from one other. I do not know if that's true or not. But the second,
I have heard it. I haven't checked.
I haven't done my analysis of the numbers yet.
another thing that when I was looking at the Detroit returns, I mean, it shows Viviano and Larson, I mean, the Supreme Court candidates winning Detroit, the city of Detroit. And I wonder if you also noticed that they got a tremendous push out of the city of Detroit.
I didn't look at the vote for Supreme Court. I would not be surprised, but I had not looked at it.
Yeah, there's no money spent by the other two candidates, so therefore, since that's not a straight ticket vote, and the city votes about 85 to 90% straight ticket, it could well be those are the names that were out there, and they're justices of the Supreme Court.
All right, Representative's got a question.
Mr. Majority Floater. I used to get that mic all day. If we're really trying to get to whether the Comey memo changed things, I'm just wondering if there's a way to look at absentee ballots, since so many of them do get cast several weeks out, and to see if there was a big difference between, and I know that there's got to be a normal skew between parties on the absentees across the state, but has anyone begun to analyze whether or not, we thought the public poll showed her being way out, a month ahead of time, whether the absentees found that she was even further behind that election.
We have not looked at that yet.
Well, clearly, look, there were signals out there that she was in trouble. The absentee vote in Detroit was down. Okay, that was a
By
side.
24,000.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which
but
is a
down.
third, yeah.
Right, okay. And then why did they send her to Grand Rapids? Why did they send her to Grand Rapids?
Because
Yeah.
in Grand Rapids, within that media market, you also had a significant number of African Americans as well as Hispanics in terms of the coverage that you
Where,
would
in
get.
Ottawa County?
No, but the coverage that you would get on TV8
Okay.
and within the media market.
Did you find that strange? And how about this one? Why did they send Mr. Obama to Ann Arbor rather than Motown?
Because of the enormous number of votes in Washtenaw County and trying to get that younger vote out. In fact, I believe it was, and I don't have that here, I didn't pull that one off in terms of the agent poll data, that among white males 18 to 29, Trump won. Among white males 18 to 29.
If I may just add to that, when you all watch Off the Record tonight, Chad Livergood will tell you that the reason he didn't go to Detroit is because there was a funeral for a police officer who had been shot, and they were concerned about the traffic jam that would be created in Detroit. Isn't that an interesting story? Question here.
Some have characterized this as a Dewey defeats Truman kind of moment for the polling industry. Do you agree with that assessment? And if you do or you don't, where do you see the future of polling? What needs to be improved, if anything, for future predictions?
Gentlemen, I would advise you not to answer that question.
Look, polling is a really tough business today, and we try the best we can to get it right. At the end of the day, if we don't get it right on, if we're off by a few points, we're horrible. We provide the best direction we can, we do the best job we can, and sometimes we don't get it right. And that's just the way it goes. In terms of a Dewey defeats Truman, everybody wants to take it out on us because their candidate lost. The winners are so happy they're not mad at us, but we got a lot of losers. So, I didn't get it right this time. I don't like not getting it right. I liked it last time when I had Snyder up by 2, he won by 4, and Peters up by 1 and 13, and he won by 12. And that's a lot more fun. Shooting dead even, that's a lot more fun. So sometimes we get it wrong.
In terms of our polling, we felt pretty good about it because we were at an 11-point lead and a drop after her health issue on 9/11. Dropped down to 3 points, went back up to 11, and everything could be explained in terms of events occurring. And then when we hit 4 points a week out, right after our poll, and I'm assuming because the campaign poll showed the same things, we had an entourage of candidates and everybody coming to Michigan, and Michigan was in the eye of the storm. I wish we would have had one more poll the weekend before, because I think 2/3 of the undecided voters, which we had at 13%, went toward Trump. And I think back to 1990, when we had an 8-point lead for James Blanchard as the incumbent governor. We did a pop poll the weekend before the election, and we showed it dead even. And I remember the Speaker of the House calling and saying, what did the poll show? I said, the top of the ticket's in trouble. And he didn't mention to me that he was asking me the question from Jim Blanchard's office. And so Blanchard said, oh, Tubby says I'm fine. I says, we show you're in trouble. Now, I don't know whether you're going to win or not, but it's going to be close.
All right, could our next panel be standing up and getting ready to come up as we do the last question? In fact, are there any of these folks here? Okay, all right, good. All right, good. Did she have a shot at winning this thing or not?
I believe she could have won without the Comey letter.
Absolutely, history was against her. In 1928 and 1988, only twice in the last century, as a candidate who was running, been able to take the White House when their party was in power already. Bush did it, and Hoover did it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Porn, Steve Mitchell, give a nice round of applause.